The time being 7:30, I call this meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded and you can view it on the cable television, and in probably a week or so you'll be able to also view it on YouTube. I'd like to make an announcement. I'm having an ownership interest in a parcel of land in the proposed Crescent View Farm subdivision. I sought town council opinion as to my role in the public hearing, which opinion has been filed with the town clerk. I will not be participating in the matter as a planning board member and will not participate in deliberations or vote on the matter. I will be joining the audience and will be representing myself personally and speaking on my own behalf, consistent with town council direction and state ethics commission guidance that a municipal employee may always represent his own personal interests, even before his own municipal agency or board, on the same terms as the conditions that other similarly situated members of the public would be allowed to do. That being said, I'm going to turn the chair over to Mr. Stetson, who will be the acting chair for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready? I'm ready if you are. Need a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to introduce the members present. Anthony Kinahan, Jim Noyce, myself as acting chairman. This is our town planner and our recording secretary, Donna Carter. I'm gonna have is the engineer present everything, corrections and additions that were brought up from the previous meeting. But before we get going, Mr. Andrewis, do you have a letter for continuing?
Right, so it's just that, I didn't fill it out yet because we have to change this to a date specific. We just can't, this is open-ended. We gotta put, whatever 90 days, in other words, if the way this is written, it can go on
Mr.
forever.
Chairman, if I might address the
Yeah.
question. It's within 90 days of the close of the public hearing. So the public hearing is the date that will trigger it. So it is a date certain. I guess what would your recommendation be in terms
I
of?
just wanna give you a 90-day extension. We get to 80 days, we're not done. I give you another 90-day extension.
And then just continue the public hearing
Yeah.
with each?
Yeah.
Is that?
Fine with me, I'm fine with the rest of you.
Yeah. So,
And the balance is for.
so I don't have to sign anything
Nope, just the one spot. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, accept the motion to accept the extension of 90 days.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You ready to go?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted, so since the last meeting, we have received the review and comment letter from PGB Engineering. We're currently working on the responses. We don't have revised plans at this time, but we've tried to tackle most of the engineering issues in the letter first, and we don't have, so far, we have no issues with the review. It's a typical, really well-done PGB review, and nothing has changed on the project. It doesn't constitute any changes in the plans at this point. We met with the Conservation Commission twice since the last time we met with this board. Again, we're working on revising plans to respond to the Concom comments. PGB is also doing the review for them, so he's covered wetlands-related issues in the comment letter as well. So we're in the process of responding to those. You may recall one of the board members asked us for a design for the guardrails at the wetlands crossing. The project applicant has engaged the structural engineer to design those walls fully with the guardrails at this time, but typically that might be left till at the end of the project. That's being done now, so we're waiting on that design as well. We were asked, I believe, by the board, but definitely by members of the community neighbors to ask if we could get the houses across Crescent Street surveyed along with the driveway locations. And those have all been done, and I put them on the plan. You guys don't have those plans yet, but we have that information, so that will be on the next set of drawings. And we actually, before the meeting, we met with the people directly across the street. These people here from number 200 Crescent Street, and they pointed out, rightfully so, that the road comes out to a point where essentially would be the lights from the cars would be going directly into their living room. So they came up with a proposal, maybe we could slide the roadway over a little bit to avoid that. So what Mr. Andrunas and I told them is we're gonna do the best we can to try to do that. If it doesn't cause any problems, we will make that change for them and make that happen. One last thing that I just want to address is at the last meeting, there was some discussion about the times of the year that the perk tests were done. My company did not do those, and I was in error of what I stated. They were, in fact, conducted between August 30th of 22 and September 22nd, 27th of 22. And the test totals for the stormwater basins were conducted on 8/24 of 23. So that's where I was confused on that. So I just wanted to state that. So
They were witnessed by the Board of Health.
They were. They were. And that's all I have. So if there's any questions, I'll happily respond.
The only thing that I thought of is the proximity to the school. That culvert barrier thing there should make sure it's wide enough so they can get the town snow blower through there. Because they usually,
I'm not sure what.
they have about a 4-foot bombardier
Okay.
snow blower. Because it's within walking distance of the elementary school, which is just through the woods by the first.
Right. Yeah, I
Crescent
know where the school is.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just, I mean, when you construct it, the sidewalk,
Oh,
I mean, it should be wide enough they can get in
Oh,
without having to come off the
absolutely.
pavement, onto the pavement.
Okay. Yeah.
That's something I came up with, it was, somebody brought question, because every one of anybody living up there is gonna be a walker.
Yeah, no problem. We'll be happy.
This is well within the 2.5 mile.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I was my whole life. I was always a walker, never a bus.
Any questions?
Well, I was thinking, I mean, there's a number of waivers proposed, and I know we're not gonna vote on them tonight, but should we give them some sort of direction which way we're leaning? Because I know there's been one, drainage pipes in particular, we've never given a waiver for in the past. And as a matter of fact, the last development that Alan Jurnis did, that was one of the things that he had to go back and redesign. So I didn't know if we should look at the waivers and say, yeah, this is, you know, go back and consider, you know, not requesting this waiver, something along those lines. Like I said, I know we can't vote on it tonight, but just to give you direction, because I don't want another set of plans here, and then all of a sudden we're gonna go, yeah, but we don't like the pipes, or, yeah, the sidewalk should be
You
this
wanna
way.
handle bringing up what you're talking about?
Well, I was just thinking going point by point in the waivers and just kind of,
This
and just
is-
give them, it's, I don't wanna phrase it wrong, but kind of like, yeah, we will consider this waiver, or we won't consider this waiver, sort of thing.
That actually would be very, very helpful, but I do want to point out that Mr. Brennan asked us to include a couple more waivers that he found as he went through the regulations. So there will be more waivers requested at the, when you get the revised set of plans.
And I know, Jerry, I mean, Tracy put on, whatever that is, the fourth column over, she put which ones required waivers, yes? If you wanna go through them quickly, or?
Yeah, you wanna,
Yeah,
your eyesight's a little better than mine.
yeah.
considering
The first waiver that's been suggested, all plans shall be accompanied by a locus map at a scale of 1 inch equals 1,000 feet of sufficient coverage to show the relationship of the subdivision to highways and major streets in town. The plan states the locus is 1 inch to 500 feet. I don't personally have an issue with that, the size of the locus plan, as long as it's clear where the subdivision is.
Tony? No, I have a question.
Second waiver would be all plans shall contain a location plan at a scale of 1 inch to 100 feet. The location plan shall show the entire subdivision layout, adjacent streets, if any, or streets within a reasonable distance sufficient to identify the location and access to the land, and shall be shown on the title sheet. The discussion on this one, the site is so large that a 500 scale locus show the information intended. Oh, instead of a 100 scale locus, they've had a 500 scale because the site's so large. I don't have an issue with that one.
Nor do I. Okay.
Third waiver, tree plan for the area within the proposed street right-of-way and 10 feet beyond and parallel thereto, show existing trees superimposed on the contour plan, if having a trunk in excess of 12 inches in diameter, measured 4 feet above the ground. So that's a list of waivers. There's been no explanation listed. Tracy noted overlaying tree removal areas on plan or on aerial view at a minimum may be helpful to the board. Yeah, I would,
I could explain that if I could interrupt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we do show where we're keeping existing trees and where the proposed tree line is on the plans. And the reason we asked for that waiver is I'm not clear on why we would have to go out and survey hundreds of trees just to tell you that we're taking them down. We're showing you where we're gonna be cutting the trees, and it doesn't matter to me if it's a sapling or if it's a larger tree, they have to come down for us to put the roadway in. So it's more locating the existing trees, and the plans already show where the proposed trees are going to be, the existing trees, and that stay, I should say, and the proposed tree line is going to be. So that's a basis for asking for that waiver.
Mr. Chairman, if I might make a comment on that. And I think part of the exercise is to look at whether there are any trees of special importance that need to be either mitigated or just considered before they're removed, if it were to impact the design at all.
And whose responsibility is that? Because I don't know what all trees look nice to me, so I don't know if this is a nice one, this isn't a nice one.
Yeah,
You
I think, I believe it references the tree warden in the regulation. Tree warden or its agent.
My suggestion too is, we've had success with another very long street in town. They ended up meandering it. So it had, just so people can't go fast, because you never can get up to speed. If maybe to get around some of if the tree warden has a problem with a tree, maybe we just adjust the road a little bit to.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna be very, very difficult to do that because of the fact that we have to raise the roads in all of the in the lots because of the groundwater elevation to make
Well,
the type
this
5
particular
septic
one
system.
that I was mentioning had to do the same thing.
Yeah,
And it was just, I'm just thinking of it as the traffic
yeah, we could,
speed issue type thing is, instead of being shh, then you make it this way, so people are gonna think a little bit about,
could I suggest that one of the things that the Conservation Commission has asked us to do within the next week or two is get the center line of the roadway staked out throughout.
okay?
Could I suggest that we walk that center line with tree
With
warden?
the tree one,
And
that would
see if
answer the
there's
question.
anything, rather than literally surveying probably thousands of trees. It would make more sense. He's not gonna be able to look at a plan and say, oh, this one, we should keep this one. He's gonna have to see them anyway. So that, maybe that is a,
Yeah, once you
halfway
do
decent
the
compromise.
center line, that at least give them an idea where the road's going.
right,
Yeah, I'm thinking too, I mean, if you say if you're filling up the road 3 or 4 feet, you have to spread that out, you have to take out the trees anyways, because you're burying roots.
Yeah, because
Right.
you're gonna,
Yeah.
you put enough fill in, any trees that you think you're saving are end up gonna die from
the root suffocate.
being,
I
yeah.
think if there's any areas where you do have, where it's close to the existing grade, and there are trees that you might be able to save. I mean, part of that reason is, everybody wants to, I won't say everybody, the developers like to clear cut the whole site and just grade it out and get it all, cut the trees out first. And if we can save any existing trees, that are 10 feet off the right of way, whatever, that would be great. But, I mean, if looking at it and we don't have the plans in front of us,
Right.
if the entire site's being filled anyways, we're not gonna be able to save trees because of that.
I can, if we do have a situation where we're able to walk it with the tree warden, I can have myself or an engineer from our company be out there and say, yeah, it is possible to save this tree. Based on exactly what you said. We might be close to the existing ground elevation or maybe even below it, and we can leave a little mound to let, if we're a foot below, we're okay, but if we're 3 feet above, it's just not, we're not gonna be able to save it, so maybe that'll work.
The fourth waiver is the environmental assessment shall be submitted for any subdivision creating frontage allowing 20 or more dwelling units. The notes on the discussion, most of the information is included in the stormwater management plan, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And just for clarification, that note was from their materials.
Okay. Fifth waiver, test pits, borings, let me try that again. Test pits, borings, or soundings shall be taken along the center line of each street at intervals of at least 200 feet and at locations such as cut sections in area of questionable foundation material, where the subsurface conditions may be in the opinion of the board or its factors affecting it gets cut off there. But it's basically a waiver for doing those test pits. The response was dozens of test pits have been excavated on site soils, and soils are consistent. Town's consultant stated in his letter, only 5 test pits are included on the plans. All test pits should be provided, so I think, once all the test pits are on there. Well, I'm guessing Pat will wanna take a look at that.
He will.
Yeah.
He's told me that he would like to see that, and we've got that information from the gentleman who did the test pits, and it's in the process of being put on the plans right now.
Sixth waiver, roadway pavement shall be constructed for the full length of all streets within the subdivision and shall have the curb radii required in section 4.2.2.7 above. Center line of all roadways shall coincide with the center line right away, unless the consultant approves a deviation. It keeps getting cut off here, so I apologize if I'm not reading all of this. Minimum widths of roadways shall be, and there's a number of widths. What is the minimum width of this these are minor streets, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things we discussed in the preliminary plan, where we discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we were gonna carry a 24-foot wide pavement width on the cul-de-sac, and the the roadway out back that goes, but as when we make the crossing across the wetlands, you gentlemen asked me to provide a 28-foot wide paved width there, and that's what we've done. So that's why we're asking for that particular waiver, just to, for it to coincide with what was discussed at the preliminary plan meeting.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that now, so I'm fine with that. That's what we've been talking about.
Tony?
That's rings through me, you know.
What's the standard?
The standard is 30 feet in width.
So we're cutting it back by 6 feet in one area and by 2 in another? What's the purpose of that?
And I can answer, I mean, 24 feet is standard width, roadway width, without shoulders anyways. That's adequate for 2 cars to pass each other. It's a standard width there. I do recall at 28 feet, we were concerned if a tree fell or something that partially blocked the roadway, an extra width would allow emergency vehicles to get around the trees.
And most of our subdivisions are 24 foot within the subdivision.
Yeah, so we went around and checked a bunch of them, just, we didn't want to come in with less than what's typically approved.
Waiver number 7 would be sidewalks within the street right of way shall be provided as follows, and for a minor street, a sidewalks included on each side. The waiver being requested is providing one on one side only. Note this was discussed during preliminary plan review, but consider placement on opposite side for a better connection. Was that done? Did you know?
We did, yeah, when
Okay.
we came in with the definitive, we had switched it over based on what you guys had asked for. And you may recall, just an aside on the sidewalks, you guys had asked us to tie into the existing sidewalks and rebuild those existing sidewalks in front of the project, so Mr. Andronis has agreed to do that.
I've got no problem with that.
Tony?
No, we've done that in the past.
What do we got?
Pretty much.
Number 8 is the last waiver.
There was a couple others further on down.
So the first set were the waivers that were referenced in Pat Brennan's review.
Okay.
And then after all of the yeses, they were in the cover sheet of the plans. It starts with the ones that were not noted as waivers requested.
Right,
on
so
the cover
Pat
sheet.
is bringing them up that we should or can ask for the waiver.
The 8th waivers concerning the fire alarm, 1 fire alarm block shall be provided for every 1,000 linear feet or fraction thereof of the street within the subdivision. I don't believe we've been requiring those. I defer to.
No, I don't think the fire chief, he was only requesting the hydrant.
Yep.
In his letter. Mainly, they've done away with the fire alarm boxes, almost any place that they had been put them.
Yeah.
Right.
I went through a couple of places.
The reason we ask for that is because most towns don't even utilize that system anymore, so.
This
If
town
the-
does, they
if the
still
chief
use a
wants it,
hardwired
the chief
system,
wants
but
it,
it's
we'll
lit.
do it, you know, it's typically their requirement. you know.
Mainly now, the only places are commercial buildings that are on main streets, they're making them do it. Okay, where are we going next?
Anyway, where were we? Where were the other
It
ones?
was issue number 9.
Number 9?
I don't know the number on this. Okay. If you were following the spreadsheet, is that what you were following?
Yeah.
Yep.
The one right after what we were just talking about. I mean, you have an N on that one, which included a waiver.
Right, so the issue was related to the staking, which you just mentioned. They hadn't requested a waiver from it, but hadn't done it. So, but you're doing it.
We're not asking, so that's
You're
what's
not
gonna
asking for
happen with a bunch of these that Pat has talked about in his review letter. we're not necessarily gonna ask for those waivers. In particular, that one you just said, so we will be staking out that.
And I don't even think that one was in Pat's letter. I think that was just something that I saw in the
Yeah.
regulation, that wasn't addressed,
So
so,
that,
but you
that
just
this,
mentioned.
something similar may happen as I go through all of the review letter that Pat, like I said, I tackled the engineering items first, and I'll look at the waivers and whatnot after, and if we can avoid one, we will, you know?
So the next one down would be number 15, if I'm reading that right. Town's consultant mentions vertical curves to have a minimum length of 50. The vertical curve in Fedway is only 40 feet long. A waiver is required, but it would seem you could easily fix that one.
We may be able to fix that. That is, we will take a look at that.
Okay.
And if not, all it is, all that little vertical curve is just to provide a lift to maintain a gutter line where the two roads meet. So in other words, if we don't want it to go down one road, we want it to stay in one gutter line.
So
We just provided a little vertical curve, so it's literally just a little hump in the road. So, but if I can fix that, I will. If I can get that to 50, I will.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, to me, I mean, that's, a lot of times they don't even put a vertical curve in there.
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sometimes they just show it as no, to get
Yeah,
around
'cause-
asking for the waiver.
Yeah, because the contractor works it out in the field, so.
Exactly.
um,
That's what it'll be, if I come back and ask for that, that'll be the reason for that, so.
Okay. Next waiver, town's consultant commented that section 4.2.7.1 requires slope granite curbing along the roads. Cape Cod berm and vertical concrete curbing are proposed.
We're, in response to that, we're going to provide the slope granite curbing on the side with the sidewalk.
Okay.
So that was an error by us. We had the vertical concrete there. I misunderstood that at the preliminary. And we're asking for Cape Cod berm on the opposite side.
So we just need a waiver for the Cape Cod berm? Is that correct? I don't know without looking at this.
I think
Typical
what Pat was saying was that slope granite everywhere. It just says
Oh,
Yeah,
slope
so we
granite.
need it for on, and it's only on
The side opposite the sidewalk.
going in on the main road.
On all the roads where we, the opposite side where we don't have
So
sidewalk.
within the subdivisions, we've always want the curb.
Okay, then don't
I
give us
think
the
what
word.
we
will-
discussed in the preliminary, it was that long stretch going in.
Okay,
But within the subdivision of itself, we want the curbing,
no problem.
because there's a lot of
Again,
angles and turning that Cape Cod bird has a tendency, if it gets hit wrong, it's gone.
no,
Even when it's done monolithically, all in one pour, it's,
no problem. I
Okay.
remember there was a lot of discussion on curbing at the preliminary.
yeah, but it mainly
and
is, and I was the one that made the motion.
You were.
To
And I
eliminate it on
misunderstood.
the end because of the wide open area.
We're happy to provide whatever the board wants for curbing, so.
So on the roadway in, is there a sidewalk
Yeah,
and is there a slope curve?
there'll be curbing on the side of the sidewalk.
And that sidewalk will be wide enough for that thing to get down so that the kids can
It'll
walk
be-
down that road?
It's, the only reason I ask for the width is there's gonna be a water crossing and
Right.
some sort of structure there. And that was just making it sure that at that point, because the rest of the sidewalk's gotta be built to ADA specifications, which I believe is what, 40 inches?
It's 3 foot clear, but typically minimum sidewalk width is 4 feet, so.
Yeah.
We provided 4 feet.
And I believe this thing is under 4 feet that they're using, but.
Yeah.
It's 52 inches. I run one for another municipality.
So.
We can provide it. We'll
Well,
plug
just
it
check,
in.
just
4.5
again,
feet.
check with the DPU director, they have two of them. And one is on a Bobcat, and one is on a Bombardier type thing. But it was mainly when they got to the structure, I didn't want to all of a sudden,
Yeah,
you go to some towns, they come to a structure, they stop, they back off the sidewalk, then they go up and go around it and leave a whatever distance of snow.
Number 20 here, we were talking about the guardrails where side slopes are greater than 4:1, but you were mentioning you're putting guardrails on the plans in?
Where, yeah, absolutely, the plans are being revised based on what something that I don't have yet. The structural engineer is gonna come back to us and say, this is the wall we've designed with the guardrail, so, yes.
I think with that one also, that also refers to any time there's stacked grade, right?
Yeah, anytime that it's 4:1.
4 to
or
1, there's
less.
gotta be a guardrail, so whatever, I mean, you got the plans. If it becomes more than 4 to 1, it's gonna have to have a guardrail, or graded differently.
Understood.
Shouldn't the guardrail be done before the project's complete though? If you got kids walking to school? I overheard them mention that they were gonna do the guardrail after the project was complete.
We, normally guardrails are not put in until
We,
near the end of the project, because there's all kinds of grading and other stuff being done.
if I did state that, it was an error. It absolutely will not be done after there are people with them.
Another waiver, this is number 21. Section 4.3.2 requires sidewalks to be separated from the travel way by a planting strip with a minimum width of 2 feet. What's that?
No, we waived that.
That was the way,
We've waived that, and we're
right.
gonna waive it in all future subdivisions, because people,
That
you
was
get
a
one neighbor
response.
takes care of the 1 to 2 foot stretch, and next one lets it go to weeds.
Yep.
So,
No, I understand. That was in response to the preliminary meeting
Yeah.
that we had.
and it's in our, we have not revised, we have revised it at a meeting, but it has not been revised in our regulation.
22, this is comment number 22, section 4.3.3 requires sidewalks to be 5 feet wide. The proposed sidewalks are 4 feet wide, a waiver is required. And as mentioned, yeah, the minimum width of a sidewalk is 4 feet. The new ADA regulations, which came out in September, it had been a suggestion for years, but every 200 feet, you have to box out a 5x5 square. So theoretically,
So
two
tree
wheelchairs can,
Tree weeds.
well, theoretically, they can pass along the sidewalk too. But that's just something to be aware of, to show on the plans.
And it looks like if the equipment is 52 inches, we're gonna be approaching 5-foot wide sidewalks anyways. So
Yep.
if you guys wanna require us to do 5-foot wide sidewalks, we'll do 5-foot wide sidewalks.
I had one at 5, and it was 88, it came down on us and said we were doing it too wide.
On a 5?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's, I think, honestly, a lot of, they go with 5 feet. And again, now that ADA is requiring that 5x5 square every 200 feet, it's almost, might as well do it at 5 feet.
And where we're not having the grass strip now,
Yeah, you got the road.
you got the road where they can overhang the curb and
Yeah. What's gonna happen is when we get those guardrails in, there's going to be soil behind the guardrail and the
Mhm.
wall, because there has to be. That's what holds the guardrail up, so. Once we get the design from the structural engineer, I'll go over that, but, would you like me to change the sidewalk widths to 5 feet, or base it on what the DPW tells me about sidewalk clearing equipment? Whichever.
Well, I think talking to DPW is a good idea,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
but if they have no problem with 5 foot is a minimum, we should really go with it.
Okay, town's consultant commented that section 4.5.2.5 requires a minimum cover of 36 inches over drain pipes. Many of the proposed drain pipes have less than 36 inches in cover, and waiver is required. I know in the past that we haven't waive that.
Yes, particularly the last one that was done.
Yeah.
What number is that, Ken?
That would be, where am I, comment number 24 on Tracy's list?
Did you say you have not waived that?
We have not.
For what? I'm just curious, for why would you not waive that? All it does is require you to have to build the whole thing up higher than what is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold, and I'm running into this when I'm inspecting subdivisions in other towns, is that they try less and less cover. All of a sudden, we get 4-inch frames and no leveling bricks underneath the frames, and the flat tops are less than, they should be at least 8 to 12 inches thick. Before you know it, I've got like, pipe, catch basin cover, catch basin grate on top of the pipe. I mean, it's literally, we're having so many problems with that. And earlier, I was thinking the minimum you would need to get all these clearances is already 2.5 feet. So, we've always required the 3 in the past. That's one reason. And two is, frost heaving. We all talk about going down Roselle, and those pipes are shallow, and, every time you went over one of those humps, you feel it too. So we have not waived that in the past at all.
Yeah. And particularly the last subdivision that
If
was
that's the
worked on.
case with, the entire subdivision is gonna have to be redesigned.
I think that's a waiver. Town's consultant commented 4.5.4.2 requires drain pipes to be RCP, reinforced concrete. High-density polyethylene pipes are proposed, a waiver is required. I don't think we've waived those in the past either, have we?
Not on road crossings, right?
Well, you're right, okay, yeah. Anything within the road, we've always required concrete,
Yep.
and it's beyond the roadway that we'll consider the HDPE.
I'm curious why that, I mean,
Structure.
HDPE is structurally stronger than concrete, requires less cover, lasts longer, and has better hydraulic capabilities than concrete.
That's why.
There literally is no negative to.
Unless you talk to
HDPE.
Situate Concrete.
Yeah. But we'll just change, is that okay with you, Al?
If that's what we have to do, is the height, if we can do anything with that cover thing, obviously, I fully understand what you're saying about people start, next thing you know, pipes are underneath the frame and cover, and, other than telling you, that's not how we do it, that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like I said, I know, should bring you down to a subdivision of CCOMP once, someday. I mean, the pipe is literally 2 inches below the frame. It's just horrible condition. I mean, when you think of, again, you've got the 8-inch frame, you want some leveling bricks, so you already got a foot there. You've got, if you're using a flat top, you've got another foot there. And you don't want the top of the pipe coming in right below the flat top, so now you're lowering it. So you're already at 2.5 feet minimum to make it
But
work.
even a half a foot makes a big difference in raising that entire roadway,
I just know, we haven't waived it in the past, so.
Yeah, well, we can discuss that, and all of them for that matter. Our next meeting.
Well, that's to be, if I may, we kind of need to know an answer on that, because if we need to redesign the whole thing, we need to redesign the whole thing. I have never had a problem with it. If we go the minimum you can design with the small framing grate, flat top concrete structure, you need 2.8 feet from rim to invert. That's coming from the concrete manufacturers, those precast companies. So that means if it's 12-inch pipe, you essentially only have a foot and just under 2 feet of cover. But then you need the HDPE pipe as well, because the HDPE pipe is much stronger than concrete. Concrete, you need 2 feet of cover over. HDPE, you need 12 inches.
Yeah,
So
and again,
that's why it all ties together, so there's
Yeah.
all reasons behind why we ask for all of these things.
I've seen the, I've got the experience when the pipes are that shallow, it's just, I know they say a foot of cover, but when you're building the road, you've got your box out, you're gonna go down 16 inches anyways, you put in your pipes are already exposed, we make the contractors, kind of lump those in together. I don't, like I said, anything less than 2.5 feet, I think is just gonna be, they're problems, they're just, you start going like, oh, we can put a 4-inch frame instead of an 8-inch frame, but 4-inch frames are, really fragile, depending where,
It's not, a 4-inch frame is, you end up with that flat top, coming through, mirroring through. It's not, I agree with you there, but
Yeah.
if you maintain the 2 feet, you do an 8-inch cover, 4 inches for brick and a 1 foot flat top, even if you have that pipe come in underneath the flat top, as long as you have, that, keeping that flat top down a foot is more important than anything to me, because otherwise, just through the years, the frost, it deals with it differently.
yeah, and I'd like 3 or 4, yeah, I really gotta bring you down to Seccong someday, these are horrible. But, yeah, even if you bring the pipe right underneath the flat top, the structurally, the basin itself, to me, you want 3 or 4 inches, you don't want the top of the basin cut out to install the pipe underneath the flat top either.
So we're discussing whether we want concrete pipe or the,
Well, I think either way, it doesn't matter, because you still, yeah, HDPE, they say they need 1 foot of cover, but it doesn't matter, because the 1 foot of cover is just, it causes a lot of problems in construction.
but if we went with the plastic pipe, it's still required
You would still need
2 foot, 2.8.
Yeah, you'd still need the same amount of cover.
In theory, the pipe would be down lower because you don't have the thickness of the concrete, right? Because the
Yeah, but
plastic pipe
that's,
is
It's only an
narrow.
inch. Yeah, it's only an inch.
yeah,
Is that an
it's corrugated on the outside, so it's about the same diameter as the RCP.
It's a little less, but not much.
Yeah.
What do we have now, Bob, 2.5 feet?
We
Or
have,
two?
so we always carry in every subdivision, every project we do, that 2.5 feet from rim to invert.
Oh. Okay,
That's the minimum. That's the minimum that you can get away with.
Yeah. is that what this one is, 2.5?
This, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I know that we want to have less impact from the subdivision. We want to have it as close to
Yeah.
the existing ground as possible. And then when we have to do that, we're just gonna have to raise everything up a foot or so.
So what do you think, Jim?
Can I ask a question?
Part of me doesn't want to set a precedent here, but part of me says, like, if you get 2 feet of cover on these pipes, you should be okay. From an engineering point,
But aren't we maybe upgrading ourselves? Because there's a number of things that we need to kind of come up to different standards than we're on the regulations.
someday we probably should review half these waivers, we're
Yeah.
giving them and make them permanent, part of our, because some of the, we waive every single subdivision. Comes to the point where we should. But to me, you need at least, like I said, from an engineering point of view, you need 2 feet of cover to make it all work. You don't want to start, and
Yeah.
plus, if you're off by a couple of inches, you'd like everything to be perfect, but maybe they set the catch basin 2 inches too high, and all of a sudden, you need to give yourself a little bit of play.
So if we were if we were 2 feet.
Every little bit helps,
Helps.
whatever,
So if we
whatever
get-
we can do,
get
it's
to
gonna
2
have
feet of
less
cover.
impact.
So
We can make it work no matter
We'll
what.
amend that to the 2, instead of 3, 2.
2 inches of cover?
No, 2 feet of cover.
No.
2 feet of cover, yeah, 2
2
inches.
feet of cover, 2 feet of cover,
2 feet of cover.
and more if it can be worked.
I still have a question.
Well, I'll open it to the public in a second.
Yeah, I'm,
So we'll go with a minimum
a
of
minimum
2
of 2
feet.
feet of cover.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So I'd like to understand because, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to direct the question to you, but your name's Al?
Yeah.
So I understand that he's done other subdivisions in town before. So has this not been an issue before where the subdivisions
He
that he's-
inherited a subdivision. He has done 2 other subdivisions in town. One we had no problems with, and another one he inherited some relatively questionable engineering, and he has exceeded what we thought was gonna be a problem, and it is not a problem.
But that's not my question though. Like he's created at least one subdivision in town where this has been something that has had to have been adhered to in the past. So why would new plans where the existing requirement has not changed, why would there be plans?
Because science has changed.
And he bought a subdivision that was already designed by others, designed and approved.
Science
by
in
others.
itself has changed as to building subdivisions. And we are a little bit behind on upgrading our subdivision rules. The new sciences with newer materials and things like that are accomplishing the same thing as the older methods that have been around for forever.
Right, but Mr. Kinahan is explaining to the board that that's not been his experience in other locations.
No, that's
So-
Mr. Noyce.
Mr. Noyes, I'm sorry.
Yes, but he's talking older subdivisions in other areas.
But it's
I'm
also
actually
an
talking
installation
newer
thing too,
subdivisions
isn't
where
it?
they're having problems, yeah. And
In other areas.
I've seen those, you know, as a matter of fact, we're trying to get one of the towns to change, because they're, you know, they required 1 foot of cover, and it doesn't work, because of the fact that, again, you gotta get the frame on top, you gotta get a couple of 11 bricks, and then you've got a flat top with a frame rests on it, and by the time you know it. you-
Doesn't work
you
out.
need-
No
Doesn't-
question
doesn't
on
work.
1 foot does not.
Doesn't work.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
question.
and, yeah, it just went through, you know, so we've been trying to get them to lower their,
Right.
but that's why I'm thinking, you know, 2 feet is, well, you know, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room in case they set the catch basin, you know, a couple inches off, and you know, you can get everything fit in that. You start with less than 2 feet, then, yeah, like I said, you start cutting the top of the catch basin structure, and, you know, that leads to cracking and whatnot.
I agree with what you just said. Absolutely no bearing on what this board decides, and I'm just telling you that every other subdivision I do, the subdivision rules and regs were done by like one town, and then every other town copied them, so they all have the same requirements. Every subdivision I've ever done in 35 years, they've waived the 3 foot of cover and the HDPE pipe, but I understand you guys do what you want to do. I'm just saying that's one of those things that's kind of outdated. I've never done a subdivision where it hasn't been waived. So that's kind of why that's, it's kind of why that's in there, because it's on every subdivision plan I've ever done, have those 2 waivers. So I'm not trying to influence you. What you guys want is what you guys want. We will do what you want.
I still, again, from my perspective, I still like the concrete pipe on the road.
Okay.
Because the problem, well, one of the problems, you know, I don't disagree that the HDPE pipe can be just as strong too, but it's a little bit, you've got to make sure you got good bedding and everything else underneath it. And again, when somebody's not looking and, you know, this isn't for you, Al, but, you know,
No, it's,
other developers that we know.
the HDPE is junk if it's not
Right,
installed right. It's
exactly.
completely useless.
You know,
So, but if a 2 foot cover with RCP makes this board feel comfortable, that's a great compromise for us. And if I can just elaborate a little bit on why, you know, she was asking about why are we trying to do this? I mean, we're trying to keep the roads down a little bit so that the whole thing isn't, you know, environmentally, we don't want to go wider, we don't want the project any higher than it has to be. So every inch that we can save on the cover can keep the road down lower. So it's more for aesthetics, it's more for the build out of the project, not to try to circumvent anything, any of the, he's a registered engineer. He's using, material standards. These are manufacturers' suggestions for how much cover, so we're not making this up on our own. It's,
And I'm not suggesting that you
okay,
are.
I know you're not, but.
My question tends to be around all of the reasoning for all of the waivers. This is not just directed at you.
Yeah.
But there are requirements in the town. And I understand that sometimes waivers are necessary or waivers are requested. But in this particular situation, basically nothing has changed, right? That the requirements are still the
Well,
same.
and like they said, the waivers, a lot of these waivers are probably things that need to be adjusted in their rules and regs,
Mhm.
because.
But this would be the first time that a waiver for this situation is given, right?
No.
We're setting, Mr. Noyce said we'd be setting precedent.
We have had others where we have discussed the heights. Every subdivision is different.
So this wouldn't be precedent by
No,
changing.
everyone is on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, but I'm confused because Mr. Noyes earlier said we'd never granted a waiver on something like this.
We look at every setup. Sometimes there is no problem and they adjust it to what we want.
Mhm.
This time here, we've got some discussion.
And again, what this board wants is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, you still need a waiver. And the justification for the waiver on this one,
So what do you two want to do?
I thought we could determine at the outset that we weren't gonna decide tonight, or if we might go.
Yeah, we're just gonna,
Given direction.
I'm fine with the 2 feet. From, again, I go from an engineering perspective, but, 2 feet is adequate for cover.
And if it's RCP, it has to be 2 feet. You have to have 2 feet of cover or RCP
Yep.
pipe. So it's,
We'll have you work with it, see what it looks like.
Yep.
That direction.
yeah, well,
Next.
Is there any other, do you know, Tracy, about booking?
Circle waiver.
Yeah, there was another one about, it's the same one about the waiver for showing individual trees in the plans. Yeah, it looks like everything else, that should be it.
Which was it?
Okay, other than revising your plans, without giving us a new set for the future meeting.
yeah, I'm working on it. And yeah, we're gonna need at least a couple more weeks to get those done, and then we'll get them over to Patrick. And we'd like to see what he has to say in response to what we're, like I said, we're pretty much in agreement on everything he's asked for, and we're happy to provide it.
So we're looking, tonight is the 17th, so you're looking. The 7th, I believe we have a number of things on the agenda.
There's no way I could be ready for that anyway, so
Okay.
we're happy to go beyond that.
21st,
Let's try.
if you're having a problem, you let us know and we'll adjust it.
Okay, thank you.
Twenty-first of what? What,
May
21st of what?
21st, 28th,
Of what month?
February.
Sorry. The last day of the thing.
Is it 21st or 28th?
Be the 28th.
Oh, 28th. Oh,
28th.
You'll have 7 extra days.
Oh, no, that would be no, actually, you're talking the first meeting in March then, because we only hold 2 meetings in the month, so the 28th would have been the 3rd.
So you have one on the 21st.
24, the February is 7th, we have public hearings.
Right, but
On
you
other
have 21
issues.
available.
20, yeah, okay, the 21st would be,
Okay.
that's the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Good. those 7 days.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask one question before
Yep.
they, close it? So I just wanted to, I know that there was a question out there about the lot area calculations and if it met the 90%. I just didn't know if you had any further thought on that.
I do, no, it's very, very simple. What's the subdivision, it's an odd thing that a lot area requirement is in the rules, the regulations for subdivision. It's almost 100% in zoning bylaws in other towns, but what it states is at least 90% of the lot area required for zoning compliance shall be contiguous land. What's required for zoning compliance is 30,000 square feet. We provided 27,000, more than 27,000 square feet of contiguous upland on every lot.
And I just, when I went through, there were a few lots that I didn't, if I took the total square footage of the lot and then.
That's not what it's saying. It's just saying you need 90% of the required
Correct.
lot size.
That's what I did, yep, so I was looking at
27,000
27,000 for every one of the lots.
Yep.
And, but to get to whether or not there was 27,000, I took the square footage of the lot and then deducted the square footage that was on the plan for wetland easement or whatever, if there was square.
The wetland easements are not the wetlands. So we'll clarify that. We'll
Yeah,
put
if
it-
you
and
could-
we'll
if you
put
could
one
write-
more line item on the lot, so whatever, lot 21 area, this
Yep.
contiguous upland area, this amount.
That would be great, and then we can just verify that we're looking at it the same way, and if
No
not, we
problem.
can.
Happy to do it, yeah.
Okay, the members have anything?
Yeah, there's an existing two-family house somewhere in here.
That's the one that's being raised.
It is being raised. That's a good question.
Anything else, Tim? Public?
We need the 100-foot
Please
square.
give your name and address.
Okay, we're on Crescent Street, 275, Petronelli. So we're on the dirt road part, and I think last time we talked about that it would be agreeable to put like not a throughway. You couldn't do a dead end, you mentioned, because of the snowplow, right? But to have something just so the cars aren't whipping down the dirt road and turning into the main
Absolutely.
road.
Yeah, that's on my list
Okay.
of, I am adding that.
All right.
But that goes along with, we have set a precedent in this town to, Old Crescent Street was one, Stony Road was another, that when it's developed, we try to get them paved to make it easy in maintenance for the town.
The only house is us on that.
We are
so-
the only landowners on that road.
Well, you have the house that's closer to
Well,
Crescent Street.
Spade is, but it's
But
really
they
just.
don't live there. We do.
But, I mean, it just makes for an easier, I mean, it's a thing that I don't know if the DPW is gonna want it, but it makes it easy, because to plow from dirt to pavement usually ends up with problems.
Well, last time we spoke, everybody seemed in agreement that to put like not a throughway, just so there's one house on, it's us, on that dirt road. So if you could do that.
But see, it's a town, it's a road that has existed prior to zoning. It's like Old Stony Road,
Right,
was a dirt road forever, and everybody thought it was just a road in the woods, but on paper, it's a listed street.
no, I know that, but it's one house on one road that doesn't lead to the subdivision. So we're just trying to prevent cars screeching around, taking a shortcut, trying to get ahead of the next one.
You're not gonna stop that anyways.
I think I know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, so-
So let me try to come
Okay.
up with some
All right.
signage, and I'll bring it in
All right,
and
that'd be
revised set of plans, and then we can discuss
All
it.
right,
And
thank
hopefully
you.
it'll meet the
But I believe the
board's
signage
requirements.
issue has to go before the board of, we can request it, but the selectmen have to okay it.
That's okay, well, we'll be
Well,
happy to do that.
that'll be great. I
Because
appreciate that.
we were requesting a one-way,
Yeah,
now it's one way the other way.
But just not a through.
Yeah.
One way that way, because right now, you're not supposed to go
One way
down
at
that
a
road.
time.
I know, yeah, I saw that, and the sign was all like bent over.
Bent over.
Right.
No
That's why
one
I-
keeps it up,
Yeah.
no one maintains that part of the road, so
Um,
we need a
So we'll
good
propose some
sign.
signage, what I think we'll do,
Okay.
like if you're coming out of the subdivision, no right turn,
Something,
Right.
something.
and then maybe a do
No
not
coming
enter
in
when
from the
you,
other
No,
way.
or if you're coming
Thank you.
into the subdivision, do not,
Yeah.
I'll propose something,
Thank
we
you.
can discuss it with you and the
Okay. Oh, I
board at the
appreciate
next
that.
meeting, and then we'll
Okay.
do whatever we have to do. If we have to go to the selectmen, we will. And
I believe
Right.
signage just falls under the selectmen.
Yeah, no problem. But I'm sure they would look for your recommendation on whatever
And
Do you have
Mr.
anybody else who wants to discuss? Yep.
Mr. Chairman, on the last meeting, that road, we talked about it remaining a dirt road, except for the small portion that was cutting up from Crescent Street. What's changed there?
It's,
No-
right now, nothing has changed.
Okay.
But it's just that.
Because you saying that the whole road needed to be paved, that was
Well,
the
we have
first
set
we were hearing.
have done it in other locations. I mean, the second Crescent Street, just up the street, that used to be a dirt road all the way, actually through similar to like this one. But as they did the two subdivisions off of it, I wanna say one is it Mill Pond? And then the extension of Stony Road, which was built up and paved. And then the contractor who did the houses on the Spring Street end of Stony Road, he paid to pave to the existing width. That's why if you drive up through to the end there, the road kind of gets narrow. He just paved it mainly just for maintenance wise, instead of having a dirt road.
I mean, yeah, well, if there's a sign there, that'll help, so.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Anybody else? So, get a motion to continue? So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a unanimous vote of the three present. We will continue to the 21st unless otherwise noticed, and it will be, you'll be able to see it on the agenda probably it's on the Monday or Tuesday before.
I didn't know there was another one.
Right
No.
up the street.
Yeah.